I'm giving us a little early count so that I can make sure that all the lives are working good. Okay. Make sure that our TikTok is set up correctly, and hopefully we are streaming through to TikTok. Hopefully. That's the plan anyway. I figure if I try a couple of different techniques, we'll eventually figure out one that works good for them. Okay. Tab. Why do we need to edit that? Cover. Topic. I'm doing it now. Thanks. Who are you? We recommend a template. This is new. Oh, I know why. Okay, I'm coming, y'all. I know they didn't like that I turned the camera off. Okay, it's all good. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one down so everybody can see it. And then I believe we're good to go. All right, everybody, if you can see us, we got a few more minutes before we get started. I'm just checking all of the feeds and making sure that we are good. If you can see us, click the share button, send up some claps, and let us know. If you're on TikTok and you're experiencing like a double feed, I apologize greatly. I'm trying to figure it out, y'all. We're getting it together. But if this live doesn't work through YouTube, then what you guys can just do is just go over there and watch it because I'm pretty sure that we're live there. I'm going to double check and make sure everything's working. And that's why we're early so that I can look and see. Okay. Hope everybody had a most wonderful weekend. And if you don't even know who we are and what we're doing here, I'm Andrea Raquel, and you have tapped into Aries Grand Rising. It's a spinoff of the Living Sugar Free Lifestyle Show. And this is Military Mondays. Military Mondays for veterans by veterans. We will be focused for the next, including today, 4 weeks on bringing you answers, solutions, questions, and etc. Yes, it is working. Looky there. Looky there. Okay. It is working. Okay. So, uh I think we are on Facebook. We are on YouTube and we are on X. So, if you can't see us, um, I don't know. I don't know what to say if you can't see us. Okay, I'm trying. We'll get it. We'll get it figured out eventually. But at least you guys can hear us now on TikTok. Okay. Um, and again, if not, there are several places that you can watch. Welcome. I'm my special guest today, and for the next 3 weeks, today's four, for the 4 week series called Military Mondays, I have with me Veda Brooks. Veda is a veteran. She is a not just a community service person, but she's a community leader. She's a community organizer. She works with veterans, she works with youth, not just youth, but orphans specifically. She goes out of her way to serve the LGBTQ community, LGBTQIA community, which is often left out within the veteran community. She advocates for women, the list could go on. I could do this all day, but I won't. Every time I've ever called on her, she has been there for myself or anyone else. y'all know me, I'm more likely to call for somebody else. And I have called her. I have called on her over the years. Whew, I can't even tell y'all all the time because I would be telling people's business, you see. And when I tell y'all that people can't, when I talk about how people can't always be out here protesting because they're behind the scenes doing work, this is an example of a person that I'm talking about. Y'all don't even know this lady. She's not on social media hanging out. She don't be at the parties. When we do lives and we have discussions, oftentimes when people get upset with me because I won't just hang out with them, I'm like, you don't understand. I'm doing stuff with people behind the scenes. This is the lady that I be talking about, y'all. Is she not a snuffleupagus? She really does exist, okay? And we're here today to speak with you all. Never mind all the other stuff that we do. Never mind all the stuff I've been trying to get y'all to sign up for and participate. I'm not here to ask y'all for no money, to donate to anything, to show up and volunteer for anything. None of that. We are only here today and for the next 3 weeks to talk to you about your veteran service, your parents' veteran service, your children's veteran service, siblings, people in your community, the people that you serve, and or people who are family members of those people, right? Or maybe they're still in the military and they're going to be transitioning out. These people are, if you're not one of them, these people are all around you every day. They come into your stores, they come into your place of business, into your hospitals. They are the people that you're serving. So when we talk about being veteran ready, what we're talking about is being poised, being educated, having the resources and the information that you need to serve veterans in the best capacity that you possibly can. Okay. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Veda Brooks. She is the the governor appointed head of the Department of Services for Georgia specifically, but she can help you nationally, okay, and point you to the direction of who you need to speak with. And she is the person responsible for care, making sure after all these years, right, that women get the care that they need. But she also goes out of her way to look after all of these other people that I'm telling y'all about. Okay, I don't even know if all that other stuff is her job. She'll tell you specifically what her job is. But there are people in your state, even if you don't live in Georgia, I don't live in Georgia anymore, that are like her. And she wants to tell you about these people and she wants to tell you how to navigate the VA and how to connect with whoever you need that has anything to do with being a veteran or caring for veterans. Please stay tuned. Tune in every Monday over the next today and the next 3 weeks. Submit your questions. I have 6 questions right here already that people have given me that we're going to go over today. So if we don't cover something that you may have been asking, shoot the question. If we don't see it on live, we will definitely get back with you with the answer over the next 3 weeks. I know that you can't see me on the video TikTok, and I have been considering putting my phone on. Um, but if you guys can hear me well, I might not. Because again, you can watch on YouTube. Are you saying I'm not on a YouTube video? Okay, that could be a problem. So anyway, Vita, um, okay, so you guys, my producer says that YouTube and TikTok are good. So you can actually watch, excuse me, YouTube and X. You can actually watch the video, see both of us, and hear everything over there if you're that pressed. If not, you can just listen. Okay? So, Vita, would you like to give us a brief kind of overview, intro, redirect us? Because I get excited and I'm sure I left out some stuff.
Okay, so I am Veda Brooks. I live in the state of Georgia, and I am the Women Veterans Coordinator for the state of Georgia. Um, and I'm also the Minority Veteran Coordinator. So I do women and minority, which is everybody. It pretty much includes all those sub populations of veterans, such as the LGBTQ, um, the 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 ones with amputees, the ones with mental health. So it's just it's kind of like two service members married, and now you're both a veteran and a spouse. So um, I also kind of help them navigate through the system as they try to figure out how did I go away because I served, and then they realize all of their paperwork is under their husband's um, social security number because when she became a dependent, she lost her standing and only became a dependent underneath the active duty veteran. So, and that happens to both males and females depending on who leaves the service. So, um, Andrea always thinks I do way more than I do, and I really do appreciate that. Uh, but I, as the Women's Veterans Coordinator, which is my 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 current big position. Prior to that, I was the outreach department for the Georgia Department of Veteran Service. So it just seems like I was doing everything everywhere. But anything that I know, um, I will give the information out freely because it's not about the title or the position. It's about sharing the knowledge so that all veterans can can navigate the system and get what they earned. So, also, I am a state agency. I work for the state. So, the Georgia Department of Veteran Service, our goal is to counsel, assist, advise military um, veterans and their families on the resources that they have earned. So a lot of people won't apply because they feel like I don't want to take something. And I want you to, as a veteran, I want you to understand that everything that you are applying for are things that you've earned. And so you're not taking from anyone. You're actually saying somebody, basically think of it as this way. You served honorably, but you won't go to the VA because you don't want to take from other people. You're not each veteran earns all of the things that are available. So if you're eligible for them, I would definitely say go seek it out, get some information. Another thing that you're going to probably hear a lot me say is VSO. A VSO is a veteran service officer. There are several different kind of VSOs. The VSOs that you should um, be working with or listening to are certified VSOs. And certified VSOs come in all kinds of shapes, sizes, and under a bunch of different umbrellas. So a certified VSO can also be a lawyer, lawyers, and then they can also be agents. So VSOs who are certified but are also lawyers and agents will 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 normally charge you for their services. The same training that the lawyer and the agent VSO goes through, and the same test that the VA gives in order to become certified, is the same across the board. So when you go into your state or county service officer and they want to help you, if they're certified, they know as much about the law. They have been trained on the law, just like that lawyer who wants to charge you. The only difference is they're willing to do it for free. So in most states, I don't really and territories, there is an organization that is like the Georgia Department of Veteran Service. They're there, and they are there to provide the services for free. So um, don't fall for the if you get me as a lawyer, I get to the head of the line. That's not how it works. I did appeals for several years, and trust me, that lawyer was behind me waiting for his number to be called, just like I was behind another VSO waiting for their number to be called. So there is no
I'm so glad you brought that up.
yeah. So there is no we'll get you to the front of the line. There are a few things that get you to the front of the line with the VSO, and that has to do with um, poverty and a need for uh, financial You need to get more finances in order to stay housed. There's also age, and they won't waive it a day. And there's also terminal illness. So
Urgency, in other
yeah,
words.
so it has to be urgent, and it has to
You
be proven, and paperwork has to be submitted.
I'm
Yes,
sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but you've brought this up over the years a few times in public conversations, and I have not, I didn't even get the seriousness of what you were saying until a recent conversation we had. And so I need you to reiterate this because I was talking to somebody recently. And if not for this recent conversation we had, I wouldn't have known to tell this person this because I didn't know it was that big of a deal because I never did it. I had you. Um, we had this conversation before when we did a public talk where someone was talking about having hired someone and they were raving about how great of a job they did for them. Okay. And so we always talk about it as a matter of people getting grifted, getting taken advantage of, people taking advantage of veterans. But that's not all of it. And I had to tell this person this. Like, there's more. It's not just about whether they're going to take your money and run and not really do what they say they're going to do. It's not, I mean, they could mean well, but and I don't know about that, but there are certain standards and rules and guidelines on who really is supposed to be putting their hands on a veteran's file.
yes,
And so I want you to talk a little bit more about that and what you were telling me the other day about like the authorizations and certifications and stuff, because I don't think people realize that. And even if the person does seem like they mean well, by the time 6 months or 3 years go by and then they can't do what they maybe they thought they were going to help you and they realize they couldn't, it's too late now because you already,
yeah.
we're too
So
far from this conversation.
yes, so the Office of the Attorney General has everyone who has been um, certified as a veteran service officer. There's a list, right? Um, but here's the thing: in order for me to become a certified VSO, they also took my fingerprints and they did a thorough background check. So when you are giving me things like your social security number, um, they have vetted me. And so that is a layer of protection for you because um, I'm not just going to go open up some credit cards in your name, but I had, because let's be honest, when you're using a VSO, you give them everything. You give them your name, your address, your social security number, date of birth, names of all your dependents, birth certificates and death certificates. All of that is sensitive information. So if you're just giving it to someone who has not been fingerprinted, who has not been vetted, you put yourself in danger of identity theft. Or so you want to
Hold on,
make
Vita.
sure.
I just had a thought. Correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong. If the person's not someone like you, either through your organization or the VA, that would mean you're going to have to sign a power of attorney too, because otherwise, how are they going to function on your behalf?
Well, this is what we hear on different occasions. A lot of people will sign up on va.gov and open up their platform. So you go onto va.gov, and it's designed so veterans can track or file their own claims on their own. So so as a certified VSO, I am authorized to go into the VA system. So you do not have to give me any of your passwords because the VA has already given me a password to get into their system to follow your case. So if you're sitting down with someone and they need you to create a profile on va.gov, and then they need you to give them your email, I mean, your password, your login and password, first of all, you're not supposed to do that. So if they're asking you for that, that's a red flag. That means they're not certified. They can't follow your claim or help you without using your information. That's
Mm.
dangerous because inside there, they can also fill out paperwork to send all or a portion of your money to an account that you don't have access to. Now, I am not claiming that every single person who is doing this is doing shady things, but I want you to be educated enough to know that you do not have a recourse on that fraud because you gave them, it's not wasn't a hack. You gave them your login and your password. So be careful. It is difficult to get that money back. And it is difficult to sue them for fraud because you handed it over to them and you trusted them. So you didn't read the fine print. And so you may also be giving them full access to do all of this stuff on your behalf. So, again, be careful who you use, ask the right questions, go to the website, make sure that whatever name they're giving you is actually listed. They should have an accreditation number. All of that should be listed, and there's no need for them to have your password or your login to your va.gov in order to help you. Um, I think
Wow.
it's really, really important because, as you know, between October and February, this is where we see the largest fraud. Uh, one of it's because people just want money to shop for Christmas. The other part is everybody starts getting into the let me file my income tax and let me see how much money I can save in doing something. So, again, your state does it for free. The, every state provides this, every state, every territory provides this information for free. I think it's even free in Guam. There's somebody who's doing it in Guam for free. So there is no reason for you to be paying someone to do it. So I just really wanted to kind of bring up a fraud alert. And I know today's lesson is actually about the three branches of the VA because I think that's important that you understand. I used to use the phrase that they were cousins, but their parents don't get along, so they never talk to each other. That used to be what I used to try to explain um, why you do something in one area, but nobody knows in the other area. It's because they don't talk to each other. They just really don't. That's not what they do, right? And then uh, memorials and death. That is like the baby sister that everybody told was found in the alley, so don't nobody deal with her because don't nobody want to talk about it. So she's over there all by her little self trying to hang on, right? And nobody ever comes to her until tragedy happens. And so she's feeling all left out. There's no kudos for her. Okay. So the VA has, some veterans have an expectation that the VHA, the health department, should be doing all of this stuff to help them get an increase. And they're not. Their obligation is not compensation. Their obligation is to patient care. So inside the VHA, that's your health care, period. And it doesn't matter if you had it in service or didn't have it in service, if it just happened. So a lot of people will go, I won't sleep apnea because the VA diagnosed it. That has nothing to do with the benefit side, which only deals with what happened to you while you were on active duty. So let's start with the VA healthcare system. Um, so I'm just going to say this because it's the truth. Um, when I lived in California, I felt like I was down at Loma Linda VA hospital, and I was like, this place is clean. These people are happy. I like these people. They calling me. They making sure I get my where I'm supposed to go. They I mean, like if they say they're gonna refer you, you wouldn't call them 6 months later talking about refer me. I thought you were referring me. You already had your appointment and they're calling you to tell you about what's going on. You know, here are your test results, here's this. When you go to your clinic, your primary doctor already knows that your paperwork is in and this is the expectation you should have on your next visit. Or we got your results in, we need you to go see your primary doctor right away. I was like babied in California, right? Just felt so good. Then I came to,
I can confirm that it is very refreshing. So
yeah, then I came to Georgia, and I found that it was, for as many veterans that are here, it was not that. And that's all I'm really going to say about it, right? And so I kept complaining, but in California they did, but in Arizona they do. And I guess it just turns out that when you have a lot of sunshine, you tend to be happier. And so when people come to you at work, you're a little more joyful, and you want a little more helpful. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Um, and here in Georgia, especially in the Atlanta area, we have a lot of traffic. So maybe you don't feel like by the time you get to work, you're tired and you don't want to deal with people no more because you just went through the traffic. I, that those are the things that I'm thinking. It's external things are happening in some areas. But here is the key, which is so disappointing to me. Your VA hospital is the only VA hospital that does what your VA hospital does. Because the standard is, here are 6,000 things that you're authorized to do, and whoever is the director gets to pick from them those 6,000. So I may go to a hospital, a VA hospital in Georgia, that the director's goal is mental health. He's only putting emphasis on mental health. That being said, um, the homeless population may not be getting served, because, and the reason I bring up homelessness is because homelessness falls under the veteran health. So it falls under the health system. So they may not be doing so good with the homeless, but you like top of the art in those services for mental health. Um, but then you might go someplace else, like San Diego, and because the homeless population is so big there, they got that homeless situation and how to service those people down pat. When you go to a stand down in San Diego, it will change your life, even if you're not a homeless veteran, because they bring everything, full stop: showers, laundry, hot food, food you can take back, connections, on the spot eye care. They are taking care of the homeless population out there, um, like nobody's business. And you're like, wow, why do they do this and they don't do that? Well, because the homeless population in San Diego is huge, mostly because, you know, Jesus smiled on San Diego, and it's where you want to be. If I was going to be homeless, not that I ever plan to, but if I was going to be homeless, San Diego is where I would pick.
I know you were making a joke, but they don't treat homeless people the same in California as they do in other places. They just
Mm-mm,
don't.
they don't.
You, it's not even like being homeless. It's like, oh, I used to say in the early days of social media, I used to make a joke and talk about how some people, when they fall on hard times, it's like the end of the world because, oh, I don't have a perfect job, I don't have a perfect car, I don't have a perfect house, whatever, and I got to keep up with the Joneses. But other people have been taught, when they fall on hard times, they just throw a backpack on their back and they go couch surfing. And they're
Mm-hmm.
homeless too. It's just that they're, sleeping on somebody's couch or backpacking in the woods or whatever. But I've also found that certain areas are not conducive to couch surfing or backpacking in the woods or whatever. And
Right.
here, you can pull your car off on the sleep in the park, sleep off in the woods. You can have what do they call them? Those, I can't even think of what the letters are, but you can put a little trailer home in somebody's yard and live there for a while. And yeah, it's not like that a lot of places.
Yeah. So, yeah, California knows how to do homeless. Um, California people. I don't. Yeah, some people take backpacks through Europe. Um, some other people who can't get that plane ticket will backpack through California. You got the mountains, the desert, the the ocean, the farmland. You got a whole country right there in California, and if you start in Washington State and just walk your way down, you got everything you need. Uh, so just understand, because some people will be online talking about how wonderful the VA is, and you might be saying to yourself, "Our VA don't do that," and that's up to the director. So just understand that. Um, there is the definition of a veteran. Listen to what I'm going to tell you because it's about to get confusion, confusing. The definition of a veteran, according to the VA, is 24 months consecutive service on active duty, or National Guard and Reservists, a deployment where the deployment is completed, whether you're deployed on Title 10 orders for 10 days, 1 day, or 28 months. You're considered a veteran, except the Title 10 orders that are only for basic training and AIT. If you're a National Guard reservist and you only did basic training and AIT, and you did not hurt yourself, that time is not considered active duty. But if you fall, if you're going through training and you decide to jump out of airplanes and during that training you hurt yourself, break your leg or something, then that converts to active duty, and then you are entitled to compensation and all of the other stuff. So it does get a little confusing because you could be sitting in the coffee shop talking to another veteran, and he's talking about how he got medically discharged at, and the only thing he did was get to basic training, and you like, I did 18 months and had to get a hardship discharge, and now they're saying I'm not a veteran. It is because that pie gets split up in so many different ways. And if you follow what's happening in Congress, the dates might change. Sometimes you're grandfathered in, sometimes you're not. But at this point right now, you are not a veteran unless you did 24 consecutive months, or you fall into a subcategory that does give you that time. Um,
This is
However,
another reason. This is another reason we don't want to be out here talking to random people about our cases, because how are you going to understand that nuance if you're not inside of the system? I
yeah,
don't even, we have a hard time keeping it up. And this is why we have people who should have been getting benefits being told they didn't qualify because they haven't been talking to the right people.
yeah. Um, so, so you have that, and then you have what is considered uh, the VA healthcare system has humane, uh, where um, let's say, okay, so I'm a veteran. I didn't do anything. I only went into basic training. I didn't get hurt. But it just turns out this ain't for me. Y'all yelling at me. I'm not doing this. So they let me out. I get a what they call an uncharacterized discharge. And an uncharacterized discharge, a lot of people think that means, oh, you did something wrong. It doesn't. It just simply means that you did not do enough time in service to say that it was honorable or dishonorable. For whatever reason, you had to get out. So let's say you start basic training and a parent passes away. They let you go so that you can go home and deal with the family. You may or may not want to come back right away because you need to get all the family stuff in order, right? So that discharge is uncharacterized, and you can come back in on an uncharacterized once you resolve whatever caused you to get out. Now you can't come back in if the reason you got out is because it just wasn't working for you. You realize that you sometimes you can, because if you go in when you're 17, you might not be ready to follow the rules, and then you get to 21 and you're like, you know what, let me go back and try this because now I understand why I had to do what I had to do and why these rules were in place. So then you might be able to come back, right? You can't come back if it's a um, dishonorable. You're not going to be able to come back. That being said, there is a humanitarian way for you to be seen, right? So you go in, you only did this many days in service, but you think there's something wrong. Mental health, you're having trouble staying housed. There is a certain amount of time that they can help you, right? So you go in, and it kind of is one of those things where they give you, I think it's uh, 30 to 90 days, and then based on what the diagnosis is or what you're going through, they can increase your time. And this is just saying, hey, let us help you, let us see what's going on, let's make sure. And that really is them saying, let us do a full examination, and let's figure out if we can find something that might be connected to your service that will make you eligible for these services here. So go through the program. Don't take it as if, well, they keep asking me questions. Yes, because if they don't ask you questions, that means they're not doing anything for you. So they're asking you those questions. They're asking you to go to the doctor. They're asking you to go see a psychiatrist because they're trying to figure out how can we figure out how to give them these resources that we have, right? And usually, what happens after your time is up, you get discharged from from that, and you go. That's it. Sometimes they'll let you stay on with the healthcare if they find that you have something that really needs to be treated. The social workers and everybody will really work hard to try to get you taken care of. So again, go. I always say ask. And if you walk in and you go to the customer service area and they're like, you need 24 months and you're not getting in, and then you say, I understand that, but I also understand that there's some other things that I might be qualified for, even though I haven't had 24 months. And I'd like to talk to a social worker before I go home, right? Just be sweet, and they will give it to you. They will refer you over to a social worker because in the VA, the social worker really deals with a lot of the frontline mental health, and nobody's going to ask you a whole lot of questions. But go to that social worker. That social worker will take care of everything. She takes care, she answers questions about homeless resources. And even if the VA can't do it, she is connected, she should be connected to all of the resources in that community. And so, yeah,
So
so you can.
out of these three different divisions, if you will, these three cousins, where one should start, where they've never done any of this before, where one should first get themselves together and get up and go somewhere, or should they pick up the phone first and call? Like, what should somebody do first? Like, what should be their way in? But also, too, is what you're describing right now also the way a spouse or child, for example, should also handle their situation? Let's say if the veteran is not around, should they also ask for the social worker so that they can be navigated to these other resources?
So, um, I would suggest that everyone start at the VA hospital or clinic and start with that social worker. Just know, as a spouse or a child, you're not eligible for about 95% of the things that are happening within the VA healthcare system, but you are eligible to talk with a social worker. That being said, if you have a mental health issue, or you have a grieving issue, or any of those things, you are eligible to go to the vet center. The vet center is a entity all of its own, and if we get to it today, I will address the vet center. But the vet center is where you go, and the social worker, can refer you over there uh, based on the fact that your dad or your spouse or your mom was a veteran. Okay, so yeah, but you want to start with a social worker. The veteran passed away and you don't know what to do, start with the social worker, right? Sometimes uh, in in Georgia, we're really fortunate because we have so many active duty uh, bases. So um, most coroners know how to do things when a veteran passes that other coroners may not. So if you're in like if you're in Omaha, your they may not be doing as many veteran uh, burials with honors as in a state that has lots of veterans. So you just have to kind of see. But the social worker at every place should know. It's kind of like their thing to know what's going on. So that is the VHA,
I'm
which
sorry,
is
before
the
you
Veteran Health
continue, I'm sorry.
Administration.
I have to cut you off because unfortunately, sadly, I shouldn't have to do this because we're doing a service. I have to say this is for educational purposes only. Educational purposes only for veterans. We are talking about benefits and health care. You know, there are certain words on TikTok that trigger violations. And even though we're talking about veterans and we're providing a service, we have to say unalive instead of the D word.
I'm sorry.
No,
Yes.
you didn't know, and you shouldn't even have to care because you're literally sitting in a state-run office. I mean, you're doing like this is like this shouldn't even be a conversation. But again, you guys, just like we shouldn't have to jump through hoops that we jump through at the VA. It is what it is. We do what we do. We find workarounds and we get around it so that we can keep it moving. So this is for entertainment purposes only, TikTok, and we are live. And we this is Andrea Raquel and Veda Brooks, and this is our original content. I just got a few notifications. I just had to clear all that up. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. So let's talk about veterans benefits. The VBA, that is the Veterans Benefits Administration. They are the Veteran Benefits Administration, excuse me, are the ones who take care of compensation, they take care of pension, and they take care of the VA home loan. Also, GI Bill falls underneath them, and the retraining falls underneath them. So, so what does that mean? That means that if you were injured in service, you would go to the VBA to receive compensation. That's where the paperwork is. Um, that's where you go. Now, I always suggest that you start with a certified veteran service officer who is not in the VBA. And this is not and I just need you to understand the difference. You can walk into any regional office, which there's not a whole lot around, but you can walk into a regional office and they will hand you the paperwork and you can fill it out. They'll even answer a few questions, but they are not certified veteran service officers. So you want to find somebody in your state who is a certified veterans officer to help you complete that paperwork because the language is important. Just like what she was saying, um, there are certain things that you should and should not say. You should definitely use a veteran service officer to make sure you're using the right language in your claim. All right. So then there's pension, and pension can be for spouses um, under certain circumstances, and pension can also be for veterans um, who are not service connected, but their income is so low that without help from the VA, they can't sustain their living. Uh, so, so that's important for you to know. The VA home loan, I want to make this clear. The VA does not give you a loan. The VA does not have a bank that's going to write you a check and give you a loan so that you can buy a house. What they are willing to do is guarantee the loan. So they're like your co-signers in that they guarantee that once you get this loan, that they're going to back you up if you have an issue, which is why the VA Home Loan Department is the perfect place to start if you are in a situation where you are about to lose the home that you are in. Even if you don't have a VA loan on that home, that you reach out to them and they will help you and work with your lender to uh, refinance with the VA loan to give you a lower interest rate or to put what you owe in the back. But that's where you start. So that's the loan. VBA loan is under the VA loan is under uh, the Veteran Benefits uh, um, Administration. The your college fund. Now, I will full disclosure. I can't even explain to you the different um, student things that happen. So there were some that converted to some other ones, and the GI Bill, and then there's a GI Bill, but it's not the GI Bill I had. It's the GI Bill post 9/11, and then there's one. So you want to speak with them. They have a specific number. You can look it up on the va.gov website, and it will take you to who you speak with about your particular loan and how that works. Uh, uh, whether it's GI Bill or a converted GI Bill or whatever it is that you have, they can help you with that. What I will tell you though is Chapter 35, which is for dependents, that is issued to you through the V through the VBA also, but that's based on your compensation, right? So let's say two veterans are married. One veteran is at 100% permanent total, and one veteran is at 70%. He might be at 70% and she's at 100. Her Chapter 35 still covers her dependent who just happens to also be a veteran. So so it goes that way because you're both a dependent and a veteran. So Chapter 35. So
We have about 15 minutes left, and the point you just made actually touches on a couple of the questions I have. So when you're ready, we can don't go too far off of that train of thought because I
let's
want
let's answer some questions because
okay,
we're at 15
because
minutes.
since you brought that up, that is, I mean, that's what everybody wants to know. First of all, is how do you get your rating increased? Because while we have all these people who are just now getting their benefits, we also have people who a long time ago got benefits that aren't nearly what they really should be qualified for. And the other one that's kind of attached to it is, oh, well, actually, they all are. Do you have to be 100% to receive dental coverage? And what is the criteria to become or to be deemed unemployable by the VA?
Okay. Okay. So let's do the simple one.
Hmm.
So according to the regulation, for you to be receiving dental care through the VA, you have to either be 100% permanent total or be um, or receiving compensation for your teeth or a mouth or a facial injury that would somehow cause the teeth to not to need some help, or you are in so much pain that your tooth problem is hindering you from daily activity like going to work. They can do some emergency care. Okay, again, I do want to remind you guys that yes, you are a veteran, but you're also a citizen of your state. And so look for free and reduced dental care in your state. And a lot of it comes from um, dental schools and hygienist schools. There are a lot of places you can go and get your teeth looked at when you're in a lot of pain and you don't have a lot of money. So let me just do that one. The next one was, um, what do you need to do? Wait, what was the first one?
How do you increase or how do you get your disability rating increased with the VA?
Okay, how do you get your disability rating increased? Let, I'm going to tell you this. Go see a certified VSO. Now, the only way to get increased is for you to have medical documentation that whatever the disability is has gotten worse, right? And so you need an increase. The other part is if because of that one disability, it has caused other things to go wrong. The best thing I can tell you is like the most common one I think for veterans are their ankles and their knees, right? Your ankles and your knees are messed up. You're certified for your ankles and your knees. You may not get another increase on your ankle and your knee because you're already maxed out on what they can give you for that. And the knee is really difficult because each part of the knee, the flexion, the inflection, the right, the left, those are all different ratings, right? The knee is complicated. But if you get to a doctor, but now you're having lower back pain, right? So you go to a chiropractor, you go to the doctor, and they're like, well, the reason your back is hurt is because you're completely out of line. Your ankles don't work, so your gait have changed. Your knees are bad. So now instead of your spine going up and down, it's not doing that. And so that's what's causing your lower back pain. Now you can do a secondary claim. The secondary claim says nothing was wrong with my lower back. I'm not saying you guys did anything to my lower back. I'm just saying because my ankles are messed up and my knees are messed up, now my lower back is messed up. But you can't say it. A doctor has to say it. So you need to go back to the hospital. They don't do claims, but you need that documentation in your file, your medical file. When you file a claim, the first thing they do is they pull all of your records from the VA and they see if they can find anything in there. A clear indication that they haven't found anything is when you get that letter and it says, hey, do you have any other records from any other place? Right? That means they want records from the doctor you see because you know, your Social Security, maybe you're getting Medicare, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, whatever. They want all of your records. Maybe you have a mental health issue, but you prefer going in to speak with your pastor or your rabbi instead of going to 6 mental health appointments. You might go to one or two a year so that you can get the medication. But who you really want to talk to is your spiritual leader. They're not going. That's not going to be in your medical records. You're already diagnosed. The only thing they're asking your spiritual leader to write is that I see Veda Brooks 3 times a month, and these are the things that we have been. She has. This is what she's been saying to me. These are the things that, and so this is what we're doing, right? Because they need to see that you continuously go and get help. If you have been, um, let's just use, let's say you've been diagnosed with PTSD, you've had a diagnosis of 40% for the last 10 years, but you've never gone to a mental health provider. No one's ever counseled you. You just got fed up with the medications and you stopped taking the medications. You can't get an increase because you're not seeking treatment, which indicates to them you got it all under control. So you can't suddenly come in and go, I want to increase because it's really bad, but you haven't sought help, you're not taking the meds. It, that's going to be a hard road. So you have to have written medical evidence by a certified person that this is what's happening. Except on that mental health thing, even though you're going to your doctor regularly, your counseling can come from groups, it can come from AA, it can come from your spiritual advisor. because they're not diagnosing you. They're just saying you show up and this is what you're sharing in the groups. And this is how they know that you're still dealing with depression or anxiety or whatever. Okay. So, in order to get an increase, you need medical evidence, real medical evidence, not the medical evidence that they be talking about on these VA streets because they read it on Google. Because just like you guys Google, everybody else up in VBA can Google, right? And so if they are suspecting that maybe you're making stuff up, like you have all the systems listed when they Google what's PTSD, um, then they're going to start looking at all the other things because now your integrity is in question and they're going to want to re-examine everything to figure it out. Misconception. I'm at 90%. I only need 10 more percent to be at 100. You need 60% to get to 100. It's VA math. Just like I don't understand how Congress thinks that they're balancing the books over there with the numbers. I also don't understand the
Yeah.
math they use.
Yeah,
So,
we're not
so
getting into VA. We not doing enough shows to even try to get into VA math on these
mm-mm.
episodes here.
Yeah,
Cause yeah, no.
yeah. So just be careful and make sure there is medical evidence to prove you
Okay,
need an increase.
let's just y'all, self-care is important when it comes to dealing with the VA. You cannot be like, oh, I just want to get this check. Mm-mm. If something's wrong with you and you have not been taking care of yourself, therefore it's documented. No, you need to start taking care of yourself, going wherever it is you need to go. And then by you taking care of yourself, there will be a paper trail. And then when you sit down with this person, they will have money, right? Or you can give them one or whatever, right?
Yep.
So, oh, the criteria to be unemployable.
So the criteria for you to receive unemployability is this: one, you have to be at least 70% service connected before anybody will even talk to you about becoming unemployable. Unemployable doesn't is not the same as unemployed is not the same thing as unemployment. Unemployment means you can't find a job. Un, Unemployability, which is a made up word with the VA, because it that you will get the red squiggly every single time you do it. Um, that says that based on your VA disability, you cannot work. That doesn't mean you can't find a job. That doesn't even mean you won't interview well. But what it does mean is for whatever reason, you can't work. So, for example, we talked about the person whose ankles are bad and knees are bad, right? And now they have back pain. So here's the deal: I go in with bad ankles and bad knees, and I apply for a job at McDonald's. I interview well, I show up on time, I'm doing the job they asked me, but I can't lift the buns, I can't pull the trash because my back hurts. Um, I can't stand my whole period, so I can't cook. I can't even finish the training. I don't qualify for that job. Even though I can interview and get the job, I can't hold the job because I'm going to lose time. I'll be missing time because I can go whole week and I'm like gun ho and I got you. But when my shift comes around again, my back's locked up and I can't get in. That's a missed day. So if you really are having difficulty working, right, then you can file the unemployability. Here's the here's the key though. You can't keep your job and file unemployability because you have to be unemployed in order to get unemployability. So if you are sitting, if you are clocking in at McDonald's, even though you're struggling to sit, to stand, to lift, to turn, but you keep showing up and they keep sending you a check, you're not getting unemployability. Uh, so so I
They
would say to you,
are. I just want to clarify because, like with Social Security and all that, usually Are we talking about in the lane where your career was that you worked, or are we talking about any job? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, let's say if you stood up for your whole career and now you can't really do that, but you can, I don't know, you can show up to do a little something. Can you still do, like, can you still do an alternate thing just to make some income, or can you not work at all?
Unemployability is you saying, I cannot work at all.
Okay.
And they say, with your degree, you should be able to get a job. And then you say, yes, but with my degree, I'm supposed to be working in a lab, which means I should be looking through
Yeah.
the microscope. But because of the gasoline that got in my eyes, I can stand up and I can look in the, but I can't see. So I can no longer do that job, right?
But
Now,
you can do another one. You're still employable.
maybe, maybe,
No, I'm
maybe,
saying if you could do
yeah,
another.
if you could do it.
Let's use me for an example, right?
Uh-huh.
Clearly, I can't do what I used to do. I'm not going to go back and work in banking. I'm not going to go in retail and stand up on my feet all day. But as long as somebody is willing to pay me to stand on stage and speak, even if it's just for an hour, I'm not unemployable. Is that right? Okay.
That is correct.
Right.
That is correct. So, and be careful because Social Security has a different idea of being disabled than the VA. So in Social Security, they allow you to make a certain amount of money. There is this small little loophole somewhere where it says, "Oh, you know what? If you make if you need a hat and you sell that hat, you know what? That's fine, except for if your disability is carpal tunnel. Now, if your disability is carpal tunnel and then they find out you're knitting hats, you're gonna lose it. I'm just being honest, so be careful. But we did have a gentleman who had children, and his amount of money he was making on his disability kept a roof over their head and some food, right? He decided to drive Uber during Christmas time because he wanted to buy gifts for his kids. The problem was he drove from October to January the 1st, which showed that he could be a taxi driver. And so they were like, "You're not unemployed. You can drive," right? So we had to go I had to go in and kind of explain that yeah, he did drive, but he also was able to set his own hours. He wasn't driving, but it was just a lot. He made a lot of money because people were coming into the airport in November and December. So be careful at what you choose to do. Okay? Just be careful because at 1099, when they issue that 1099, they also report to the IRS that they issued you a 1099. So you want to be careful
Y'all, even
with
though
that.
we would love to have Vita here all day, we only have 1 minute left.
So thank you guys for coming today. I want to say thank you. I appreciate you, and I will answer more questions if you send them in. Go
I
ahead.
still have more questions, so if you have time, we can keep going. But if you don't, we'll get them in next time. I'm so appreciative of y'all actually doing what I asked y'all to do, which is to send me some questions. Y'all, please excuse my dog's barking. I don't know what's going on outside my house right now, but clearly it's a lot because I see people walking back and forth. But the
How many
next,
more questions do you have?
it's three.
Okay.
Well, but two of them can go together, and I'm so glad that I got these because we talk a lot about all of this stuff, y'all. And no, most of the people that I know are not going to be unemployable because y'all are doing too many other things to try to figure out a way to just keep it moving, right? You might not be able to do anything but lick envelopes. Y'all out here licking envelopes, okay? So the other questions are, one person wanted to know, how do they get their business at the PX? What is the avenue to go through to do that kind of thing, right? And also, too, about business grants. Like, where do all of these veteran entrepreneurs go to get those types of resources? And then I want to circle back to something you already said because I already know the other question you already answered. It was specifically about military SA, which we can't say that on TikTok either. It's actually ST for the military. It's trauma, not assault. But the avenue to go to get support for that is also still, I want you to reiterate, they should go into the VA hospital and they should see the veteran service coordinator. And then how do they get to the person in their state that does what you do?
Um, okay. Give me just one question.
The first one is, how do people navigate the VA for getting support for small businesses, business owners, getting in the PX, getting grants, anything that's available for veteran small business owners?
Okay. So, um, every small business administration in all of the states have a veteran lane, right? It's there that's where they can break down women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. Uh, that's small. Your small business administration in your state, they have a veteran lane. That's where you go. Those classes are free. They'll show you how to write a grant. They'll talk to you about helping you write a business plan. They'll do all of that. They'll guide you through, mentor you all the way through the end. And I believe, well, in Georgia, I know if you sign up and you join a class, they take you all the way through to uh, and then a year after you start your business, they continue to come in and check on you and mentor you. So, so the Small Business Administration is where you start for your own business. Okay, that there we go.
And this is
Now,
one of those things you said before, like just because they're talking about state, remember you're a veteran, but you're also a citizen of your state. So just because they're not saying veteran for a particular thing doesn't mean that's not for you. You just might have to dig a little bit more and make sure the person in your area is educated about the veteran resources that they need to go find.
yes, but also understand that the federal government also gives them money to specifically target veterans. So does your Department of Labor. Your Department of Labor gets federal monies to make sure veterans get hired and or are retrained, which is important because you can be retrained at the VA if your service connected disabilities stop you from working. There you can fill out the paperwork and say I need to be retrained. So if you get there, and I always tell people do it, to fill out that paperwork to get retrained. So if you were yeah, so if you were in, I don't know, whatever your job used to be, EMT, right? But now your lungs are all messed up because you sucked in the burn pits. And so now you don't have the stamina you used to have, which is not a good thing when you're running up and down stairs trying to get people to an ambulance. Retrain.
And some
Maybe.
of this is just industries training. What you
Hmm.
used to do isn't the way it was anymore, and you missed out because you were away. Now you need some retraining.
Yeah. So get retrained. Um, that is that's money that they will pay. They will pay for the education, and they will pay you money, so that you don't have to try to work a full time job so that you can get it done. So
And
that
farming and sustainability is part of that. We need to not forget to tell them that because we kind of found out this, you guys, on our own in doing it ourselves. Farming and sustainability is part of that. The USDA, there's a whole farming thing. It's all about veterans. They want veterans to be the leaders in farming and food sustainability and healthy food. So there is a ton of money and resources, whether you want to start your own farm, whether you want to intern on somebody else's farm. It don't matter if you got a little plot of yard or if you got a big old piece of land. It don't matter.
and the USDA in your state is the place you go to. So every state has a USDA representative, usually broken up by regions. So just go onto the USDA.gov, I believe it is. Type in where you are. They'll they'll tell you who you should contact in that area, and then they'll help you complete the
I
paperwork,
think
give you
there's
the
a theme here.
information, and do all that. Huh?
I think there's a theme here. And y'all, I'm about to oversimplify it. And as a veteran who's gone through this, I'm going to write it down. whatever the thing is that you're trying to do, you go in there and you ask them for the VA portion of it. Just like every single store that we ever walk in, we ask them if they have a veteran discount.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah. Because the VA, I'm going to be honest, the VA does not do everything for veterans. Some veterans think that, and a lot of civilians think that. They don't. They can't.
Nor will they even know who to tell you to call sometimes.
Right. But trust and believe that your state knows, because every state wants to get a little bit of federal money. And if that federal money is attached to helping a veteran, they're going to do it. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
look at that and do it. Also, if you're really looking into farming, uh, go to your 4-H club,
Mm.
right? Go by your 4-H club. You're an adult, but they're always looking for other people. But it is full of information, because one of the things that the 4-H club wants to do is keep farmland. They want to, you know what I'm saying? So go to your 4-H club and see what's going on, and what resources they have in your local area. There was
We just
one.
got a question in the chat, and I think I can answer it myself, but I'm gonna put it out here to you.
Mm-hmm,
What about people? And this is what we find. So I already know how she gonna answer it. We give the disclaimer that be careful, don't try to get over. But we know more often than not, it's veterans out here doing everything they can, jumping through all the hoops, going to all the doctors. The reason they missed the appointment is because the phone call came in at 1 o'clock in the morning, or all kind of little ridiculous little things that happen just in
mm-hmm,
the course of being a veteran and trying to do right. And this has happened to me, and I know it's happened to other people. So what happens when you are keeping a good paper trail and you are going to the doctor, but it seems like your doctor keeps getting snatched out from under you, so you can't really get a good paper trail because every time you go to your primary care provider, you have to start over because they keep changing them.
hmm.
What should someone do in that situation?
Go to the patient advocate and tell them that in this year I've had 3 different primary care doctors. I am not getting the continuity of care that I believe I deserve, and I want to be sent to community service.
Damn, because it's not
Okay?
acceptable.
Yeah,
You don't have to be treated like that.
you do not.
And stuff happens. Like with me, one of my doctors quit. Another one of my doctors got promoted. Stuff happens, but it doesn't mean that you just have to sit there and take the brunt of it.
Hmm.
I always look at life like this. Even though I've been a boss and a manager, I'm always trying to figure out who is the authority person that I can tell on you. I'm telling on you if you don't treat me right. And that's the whole point of being part of a society and paying taxes, is that there's an authority figure that you can tell. So as a veteran, don't ever not tell it. Don't ever not get the advocate. Don't ever not get the coordinator. But I want to clarify before we get out of here, before we run out of time.
Wait. Let me say one more thing. Sign up for the va.gov encrypted emails for your doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the reason why. Even if you can't get in to see the doctor, or even if no one is returning your phone call, when you send an email that says, today I had a migraine, or last, this is Wednesday, my migraine started on Monday, I missed, uh, I'm starting on Sunday night, I missed work on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I am still at home. I have not been able to get in, but the pain is subsiding. I had to take over the counter medication because I couldn't get what I normally take. I need an appointment or somebody to reevaluate this, because now I am losing hours at work, right? Send that encrypted to whoever that person is. That is a paper trail.
Yep, we call it a CYA file, right? If you don't have a paper trail because people didn't give you the paperwork you needed, you start your own and you
Right,
begin to document everything.
right. You go to the ER, you write, you take that paper from the ER, the papers from the ER, and you go and you tell them, add this to my VA health record.
Mhm. And dial
So
988 every time you need to, right? That's another
down.
thing you told me. Every
Hmm.
time you have any amount of stress, any problems, anything goes down, you dial 988. You don't wait until you be over the edge.
Yeah,
Call them, get it
right.
documented.
But and 988, while it is a crisis line, it is a crisis line in that they're going to always assess you and ask you those same questions to make sure that you don't have a plan. But then you're going to say, I don't have a plan, but what can relieve some of my stress is if my family have food. And then they're going to give you the resources to get food. Or if I could get into my primary doctor, then the VA in DC, is going to call down to your local VA and say, this veteran called and said the only thing they need from you is to get in to see their primary doctor. It's different because once that phone call comes to your VA, your VA place, what they know is that DC is now tracking your file to see if you were actually seen. So that's another way to get in if you're struggling. And you can tell the people at 988, listen, I don't care if I see the one at the VA or if you send me to community care. And you'll probably get a call from community care as well saying, hey, I'm here to get you in. This is when I can get you there. Right. So those are the ways that sometimes we do have to do quite a few extra steps to get what we've earned. All right. Last question.
Many hands make light work. And if you're struggling, it's always best to have a bunch of eyes on the situation.
Hmm.
And I want to wrap this up by saying, okay, so everybody, if you don't know where to go, if you've been struggling, you should start at the VA hospital and you should see that veteran service coordinator. But everybody's already done that and they're frustrated and they're like, yeah, Andrea, I've been doing that and I want somebody like her. How do I go and find my Vita in my state?
Um, I'm
Y'all ain't
gonna
gonna get no Vita in your state. You can hang it up. But luckily, because she cares and she's working with all of your people in all of your states, they gonna get there. But you know what I'm saying.
so here's what I can do. Um, I can let's put a pin in that one. And what I will commit to is at the end of this series,
Mm-hmm.
I will have so many resources to
Excellent.
give out
Excellent.
that they'll be able to print them and use them or save them and use them as a little booklet. And I'll do the best I can to get everybody from each state to be listed on there so that they can make it happen.
Because
Here's
y'all,
the
please
deal.
understand, she's not gatekeeping. First of all, this is a new role in a lot of your states. First of all, this ain't her job to do this, okay? But second of all, the only reason I know her is because one of my really good longtime friends happened to be at the store wandering around. She's so nice and he's so nice. They got to talking. He told her about me, and she was like, "Oh, give her my cell phone." Otherwise, I wouldn't know her. It's not like a storefront. It's not like walking in. It's not like when you went to go sign up to enlist. It's not like that. So we getting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But in
And
the meantime, we're here, y'all, and you can come back next week on Monday and ask some more questions. We got you.
all right. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I
All right.
appreciate you. I know everybody appreciates you. The chat is going crazy. Um, Okay, you guys, we're going to get out of here. And maybe on the very last episode, we'll take some guests. We'll have some co hosts come into the chat. And you guys, we can do a whole panel discussion of veterans. And you guys can sit and ask more questions and discuss. But don't worry, we're ending it now. Today is the end. Right now is the end of Military Mondays. But we will be back next week at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And we're gonna don't wait till the last week, y'all. Come every single week and tell everybody that you know that might even remotely benefit from this. I appreciate y'all so much. Thanks for all the shares and likes. Love you guys. Bye. Thank you, Vita.
You're welcome. Thank you.